Hello YouTube. I thought I would make a quick video tonight. I was sitting there, I don't know if I mentioned it in my previous video on YouTube. However, I thought I'd go ahead and do a follow-up on it right now. Yeah, there is an online petition going around about people wanting the racer to go backwards again like it used to. Well, years ago, yeah, it was turned around backwards as a novelty, and the other night at the Orion unveiling, I had talked in great length with Don Helbig, and for most of you, you might know that Don Helbig works for Kings Island. He's been there for quite a few years. He is also known to on the racer. The other night he confirmed with me that he's got 12,031 rides on the racer, and I asked him, he was joking around. I was talking about when he's going to go 13,000. He said maybe in a couple of years. But he said it's going to be a little ways off. He was hoping to get a few rides in on Friday night, he said. But he is at 12,031 as of the Orion unveiling. And also talking with Chad Showalter that evening as well. We was trying to get out of him how much that new roller coaster is going to cost. Well, he said that since Cedar Fair is a publicly traded company, they don't release those figures anymore for certain reasons. But he did tell me that the is in a ballpark, same range of what it costs for the amusement park that when it was built in 1972. And when that happened, it was almost $35 million to build Kings Island in 1972. So that tells you right there that this roller coaster is going to cost at least right around $35 million. But now you got to also take into effect that the money that was spent for the coaster was also the money they spent probably for the demolition of Firehawk. That had to come somewhere out of a budget. So money that was earmarked for this new roller coaster more than likely had to pay for the demolition of Firehawk and the removal of that as well, plus getting everything set up for the new construction, tearing all the trees down and getting the site ready for everything. So all that goes into the same the cost of the project itself. So I would say that it's probably $35 million total for the new coaster and for the deconstruction of Firehawk and all that. Because they had, the budget money has to come out somewhere. Cedar Fair is getting 2 new coasters next year. The other coaster is going to be a small coaster. It's going to be put in up at Michigan's Adventure. It's going to be a kids' Woodstock Express coaster, a Planet Snoopy expansion at that park, which will be good for that park, which they haven't received anything of new of any greatness in quite some time. So it'd be nice to see that park get a little something new. So I know nothing big's going to ever go in at Michigan's Adventure just because it's such a small park. Now, I did talk to Don about the racer and talk to him about the petition online about everybody wanting to go backwards. And here's the answer to that. The racer will never, ever go backwards again. Okay? That's the answer. And the reason for that, and it doesn't matter how many people sign a petition. It could be one person signing it or 10 million signing a petition. It ain't going to matter. And the reason being is Cedar Fair is going to operate the ride the way it's supposed to be operating in the first place. So, like if you get brand new items, let's say if you get a new appliance, you get instructions with your appliance, correct? So, same way with a ride, you get an instruction manual with a ride, and an instruction manual is meant for that ride to go frontwards and frontwards only. It is a racing coaster, and it can be utilized as a racing coaster, but it was not meant for it to go backwards at any cost or measure. So therefore, there's your answer. The racer will never ever run backwards again. If you got to ride it, yay. If not, I'm sorry about your luck. Yes, I did ride it backwards. I thought it was pretty cool. It was fun, but for safety reasons and insurance reasons and other reasons, like with Son of Beast, whenever they had their problems with Son of Beast and You get lawsuits and everything else. Well, same thing. What would happen if somebody got hurt on the racer going backwards? Well, I know it was there for many years and nobody ever got hurt from it. But however, in the instruction manual, it says not to run it that way. And for insurance, I'm sure that they would have to pay extra money for insurance on the racer coaster if they want to run it backwards. And Cedar Fair is not willing to do that, which I don't blame them, because if I owned the park, I wouldn't do it either. And just because of that reason, just in case of a lawsuit was to come up and say, well, it was never supposed to go backwards in the first place, and hey, I got injured, and that's the reason why. So you got to look at it from a business standpoint. So unfortunately, that's just the way it is. That's the answer. The racer will never go backwards ever again, and that came straight from Don's mouth of us talking the other evening. And I understand that, and that's just the way it is, okay? And but yeah, I had a good talk with Don, and I appreciate that. And Don, if you're watching this video, thank you for watching. And again, I appreciate everything you guys do for the park, and I'm really thankful for Cedar Fair of putting us a new Giga coaster in here at the park. I am so thrilled to see that Kings Island finally is getting one. And what makes it nice is if you want to ride an Intamin Giga, go to Cedar Point. If you want to ride a B&M Giga, come to Kings Island. So Ohio's got best of both worlds, don't we? I mean, really think about it. Kings Island's got a lot of room left to work with. Our park here, Kings Island is my home park, and it's going to continue to grow, and it will grow as long as we keep supporting the park. So people, go to the park, support your home park. Bring people, take people, go to the park, support it. Buy the merchandise, buy the food, enjoy yourselves, and buy season passes and go and enjoy. You don't have to go ride rides. You can go and be like me and just be a people watcher, basically, and sit on a bench and sip on a soda or something, or eat a funnel cake and watch people go by and watch some shows. There's some very good quality shows. And also, another thing too, Mr. Kuntz, the general manager of Kings Island, he also stated that Grand Carnival is going to be back again next summer. I did not get to witness it this year, didn't get to watch it, unfortunately, but I will tell you this, it looked like it was a fun time, and from what it looked, everybody enjoyed it, and everybody really liked that. So it is coming back again next year, so that's exciting. So next year, hopefully I'll be able to catch it next year as well. I'm sure I will. But again, there's the answer for the backwards racer. Never. It's done. It will never happen again. So it's wishful thinking. People's putting videos out there saying, yeah, well, we're going to get it backwards coming in 2020. No, it's not going to happen. Sorry, but that's straight from the horse's mouth. I mean, and you got to understand from the business standpoint that, you can't go against a ride instruction manual, and just for the reason being, if something was to happen, that's a major lawsuit. So in order to keep their noses clean, they're going to operate it the way that the ride manual says to operate it, and that was for it to run frontwards, never run backwards. So if you got to enjoy it, it was great, wasn't it? I mean, we really had a good time. And that's just like me and Don was talking about the original bat. Man, I'll tell you, he said that he was in line and he let somebody cut in front of him, and they got to ride on the bat, and then the next train that pulled in the station, they sent it around empty because it was having trouble. And then after that, it never ever ran again, ever. So he never even got that final ride in on the bat. And he was just one person. If he didn't let the person go in front of him, he would have been on the very final train that was on the original bat. And I'll tell you what, man, that was one hell of a coaster. It really was. But like I said, it was just unbanked. There was no way that they could have fixed that. There was no fixing the ride. There was no way to fix it. It had to be trashed because the entire track needed to be replaced because it was not banked correctly. So it would have had been totally redesigned and everything else. So there was no trying to save the original bat. It was impossible. You couldn't save it. It was a maintenance nightmare. the shocks that was on there, the absorbers and stuff. They was replacing them every single hour. It seemed like, you know, they had to replace them, and they was breaking like crazy, and the track was having fatigue and getting cracks in the track and things like that. It's because the coaster was too much stress on it. And if you can find some of these bat videos, the original bat, on YouTube, and watch some of the videos, and if you're a pro roller coaster rider, you can kind of sense the feeling of being in that car while watching that video, and you can just feel the pressure against the track itself. I mean, it was just beating the hell out of the rails and stuff. I mean, you can hear it just clanking, and it just wasn't right. I mean, it looked fun, and it was fun. Don't get me wrong. You talking about some hellacious swing and action, man. I mean, that thing was something, but it just wasn't banked correctly, and that's the only problem that it had. And plus, the brakes, instead of being on the top of the train up on the rails, they had brake fins underneath the train, which that was another problem for braking issues and stuff, because just the way that the cars would come into the station, and the fins would hit the brakes and they would tear the fins up. So it just wasn't designed correctly. Now, the reason being was that was the very first coaster of its kind. So aerodynamics, they had to start somewhere, and Kings Island had the very first of its kind ever. So but yeah, if it would have worked, it was one hell of a coaster, but unfortunately, just they didn't design it correctly, and it was just destined to be trashed, and there was nothing else that Kings Island could have done with it. However, they did get Vortex at a substantial discount. So Aerodynamics did build Vortex, gave them a world-class coaster at a really good discount cost, and because of the loss of the bat. The bat, I believe, was $2.8 million to build, or 3.8. I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact figure. I know it was 2.8 or 3.8 million to build, and I think the Vortex was close to 7, but the Vortex was still at a discounted cost, because I mean, if you look at a lot of the steel that's used in Vortex, you know, they did get a pretty good rate with the Vortex, and that being was because of what happened with the bat, the original bat, and I guess Aero wanted to make things good with Kings Island, so, and they did. So the Vortex was definitely one of a kind at way back then, and now it's pretty rough now. I mean, a lot of people's complaining about how rough it is and everything, but it's old. It's over 30 years old now, and you got to think, you know, it's up there in age, and it's well worked in, that's for sure. I don't know how many millions of riders have been on that so far. We know the Beast had 55 million, so Vortex could be in the 40s, I'm sure. It's in the 40s, but not close enough to the Beast, I don't believe yet, because the Beast was built in 79, and Vortex came 8 years later in 87. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that information with you guys. I was going to make a short video, but it seems like always my videos end up being long videos. I want to do live streams. I really do. If I can get 1,000 subscribers, YouTube says that I can live stream. So if you got any way to share my broadcast to other people and try to help me get my subscribers up to 1,000, I would greatly appreciate that. I would be more than happy to go to Kings Island and do some more videos, and maybe even do other type videos besides amusement parks, and I would love to live stream events and things like that, but like I said, I can't do the actual live stream unless if I have 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. Here lately it has increased quite a few, and I appreciate that, and thank you so much. Again, if you like my videos, appreciate it. If you want any ideas for future videos, I'll be more than happy to listen to your ideas. Comment down below, let me know. Like, share, and subscribe, and please help me get subscribers. I'd appreciate that most graciously. And if you want to know anything history about Kings Island or any of the other parks, Americana Amusement Park or Fantasy Farm Amusement Park, I can answer a lot of questions on those places as well, as I've got a lot of history with all three of these amusement parks in this area. Again, I appreciate it. Thanks, you guys. Take care. And for the ones I met the other night at Kings Island, it was great meeting you, and I really enjoyed the chit-chat. Maybe again sometime in the future we can have another meetup at the park sometime. And maybe when Orion comes out, maybe we have a meetup there and check it out. All right, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Take care. We'll see you. And also, Labor Day is coming up, so be safe. Have a happy, safe Labor Day. And if you're going to a River Fest down, EBN Fireworks down on the river, have fun. All right, see ya.